The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that brings the best of the Bronx and New York to the world, to you. I'm your host, Sean Lilly. And here's a look at what's coming up on today's show. First up, we will go right into the results of the Democratic primaries and tell you everything that turned out and what's next. Then it's our legal corner with David Lesh as he continues his law series. Plus, Sheikh Musa Drama is here to discuss the attacks that have been happening in response to the YouTube video, Innocence of Muslims. And finally, we will hear from Legal Shield, a business willing to help fight the court battles for a fraction of the cost. That's all ahead, your way, right here on Open. Welcome, Bronxites, to another edition of Open. Today is Wednesday, September 19th, 2012, and I'm your host, Sean Lilly. Open is the show bringing you the inside scoop on all things local and worldwide news. We are live and we want to remind you to give us a call at 718-960-7241. Or you can send us an email at open@bronxnet.org with all your comments. You know, we're also on social networks, and you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook's/Open BronxNet Television, or you can tweet us on Twitter at BronxNet TV, or you can watch us from the web at www.bronxnet.org. We here at Open want to keep you informed on the election races and what you can expect at the polls on November 6th. Now that the primaries have been collected, counted, concealed, celebrated, we only have the general election to look forward to. As they stand, here are the results for the local races in the Bronx. For Assembly districts, Gustavo Rivera celebrated a 70% victory. Vanessa Gibson won over Anthony Curry with 90 to 10%. And Jose Rivera won his race with 78%. In the 80th district, Mark Jonai won his four-way race over Adam Bermudez and Irene Runquez and embattled Naomi Rivera. In the 82nd district, reported that Michael Benatino with 89% of the vote. And in the 84th district, with 52% of the race, Carmen Arello won. While in the 86th district, Nelson Castero took his race with 84% over Richard Soto. Louis Sepulveda won the 87th district with 76% and in the municipal courts. District 2 with Eddie McShann with 60% over Juana Valentin. Check out www.bronxnet.org for more of the election season. After this break is our legal corner with David Lesh. Stay tuned. But first, our cameras went with Mark Jonai. He celebrated his win over the incumbent Naomi Rivera for the 80th Assembly District seat.
To the sound of music from the movie Rocky, New York State Assemblyman-elect Mark Jonai from the Bronx's 80th Assembly District entered Maestro's Catering Hall, concluding a four-way race he will not soon forget. Greeted with wild applause and handshakes from supporters and volunteers, news trickled in, placing his win as high as 52% of the vote in the Democratic primary race in the 80th over incumbent State Assemblywoman Naomi Rivera, who won 41% of the vote. Earlier in the evening, Rivera conceded, thanking her volunteers and workers for their efforts. Jonai's campaign, in the meantime, basked in the spotlight.
This is unbelievable. We are very happy to see him for the community of Bronx. He's one of the greatest person you ever met, and he's going to work so hard.
Definitely making history today. Definitely making history. Mark Jonai, first Albanian candidate, and who knows, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
Mark is by far the best choice. He'll really deliver for the community, and we look forward to having him as the next New York State Assemblyman.
Winning over an incumbent is no easy task, but supporters of Jonai cited State Assemblywoman Rivera's mounting legal challenges that drew attention away from their needs. Celebrating Jonai's victory is Joseph Ani, who lives at Tracy Towers, a complex where the owner is threatening to raise their rents by 65%. Jonai helped by retaining an attorney that so far has blocked this move.
It's like a new savior because he's proven to be very innovative, someone with new ideas.
Jonai comes from what is a growing Albanian community in the Morris Park and Allerton Avenue sections of the Bronx. His win reflects their growing numbers and desire to gain political clout. He said this on being the state's first Albanian American to secure a political seat.
That's my understanding. But more importantly, I'm a Bronxite. I'm grateful, I'm proud to have been born in this great country, and I'm a product of that American dream, along everybody else in this room.
Several insiders here say the district has an innovator with fresh ideas, someone who's not afraid to take on the big issues like representing the residents of Tracy Towers. For BronxNet, this is Arlene McCoco.
Welcome back to the show. His Law A to Z series is up to C, and we are glad to welcome David Lesh to the studio. Dave, how you doing?
Hey, Sean, nice to see you. I haven't, listen, I know you've been on other shows. I haven't seen you here, so it's nice to see you, and hopefully I'm going to see you more often, so we can talk law every couple of weeks.
Most definitely, most definitely. So what do you have for us?
All right, well,
today?
we're on, as you said earlier, we're doing I'm doing a legal series A through Z. I'm up to the letter C.
Okay.
And today we're talking about what the law school a course called Conflict of Laws, and it really means exactly what a conflict is.
Okay.
Conflicting laws between either states, sometimes conflicts of laws between countries. Let me give you an example. Let's say you live in New York, and you drive your car to New Jersey and you're involved in an accident.
Okay.
Well, the question is, if you bring a lawsuit, well, what law applies? New York law or New Jersey law? I mean, it's different. Automobile accidents and the law that applies are different whether you're going to be suing in a New York court or a New Jersey court. So these are issues of conflicts, and there's a whole course dedicated to this type of law in law school.
Okay.
The interesting thing about this type of issue in terms of the conflicting laws of either states or nations is that it's always in the news. Like, I'll give you an example. With Kate Middleton, they had some photographs that they took of her.
Okay.
And a French court just ruled that those photographs have to be given back to the royal family. However, there are other countries that have the photographs, and the question is, do the courts in Italy or the courts in Ireland are they mandated to follow the laws of France? Now, France says you have to give the photographs back, but the magazine already sold the photographs to magazines that are publishing in Ireland all over. So the question is, do those countries have to abide by the laws of France in this particular issue?
Okay.
And that's what makes this so interesting, because many times other countries do not follow laws from the United States, and a lot of times we do not follow international law as well, because it's not the laws that have been created or enacted in the United States.
Okay.
But the most interesting thing that I find with respect to this particular issue of the conflict of laws is, well, should we look at the international laws and use it to shape our own law? Mm-hmm. Now, there are arguments for this, and there are arguments against this. The arguments for this is that, look, our own law is based on English common law. Mm-hmm. We created our law through that system. As a matter of fact, the Eighth Amendment, against cruel and unusual punishment, came directly from English law and common law. So our entire law is in some respects shaped through the law of England. But we do have our own constitution that was enacted, and we have our own set of laws in each of the states. So the argument is, well, why should we be looking internationally at any laws at all? Well, you can say...
Affects us locally?
Well, you can say that it affects us locally because, look, listen, if all these other countries are taking a particular position about a law, well, then maybe we should be doing it as well. For instance, let me give you another example. Right? Our country agrees with all other countries in that we should not be executing juveniles for committing certain crimes.
Exactly.
Right? So we don't execute anyone under the age of 18. Right? That's fairly simple. However, the issue is, or has come before the United States Supreme Court, should we sentence without parole? Now, other countries, many other countries say no. That's cruel to do that to somebody who's convicted of a crime while they're under 18. No matter what the crime was, at some point we should allow them to have parole, 30, 40 years, who knows how much later. But when it came before the United States Supreme Court, well, the issue is, do we have to look at the international law? Well, the answer is no. I mean, international law is not our law. All these other countries may be doing that, but that doesn't mean that we have to do that. Well, some judges feel it's important for us to look at international law, and that if most of the world does not do that to their youths, then maybe we shouldn't be doing it as well. So that's the issue. Should we be looking at international law to help shape our own law?
I think it's kind of hard to compare us to other countries. We have different values, and it's different from one place to another. So I don't know if that has anything to do with
Well, that's a very good argument, because a lot of times what happens in those courts in France or in Ireland or anywhere else. Well, we're not there to see what goes on. We're not from that neighborhood, or we didn't grow up there. You're right. They have different values.
They have different upbringings and everything.
Yes. So. And also the laws that are shaped there and are made there. Well, we don't know what happened in that courtroom. We don't know what evidence came in there to shape the law. We don't know what the judges allowed or didn't allow. These are all things that we have to take into consideration. If we're going to follow another country's law, well, how is that law even made? Was there any biases that were going on there between the legislatures in France or in Ireland on that particular law? Also, this is interesting, Sean. I mean, the interpretation of the law is many times different in terms of how it's interpreted. It's in a foreign language. So when we look at the law from France or from Italy, and we're interpreting it, and it's been translated,
it can be kind of lost, and that happens a lot of times with people that come from other places and they come here, and like even with conversation, when they try to explain themselves, it may come off wrong.
They mean something else.
Exactly.
For instance, I think the baseball player who just got in trouble. For putting something under his eyes, which was a racial slur. Well, he said, well, it doesn't mean the same thing in my culture. In the Latino culture, it doesn't mean the same thing. So things are translated in different ways. So if we're going to look at another country's laws, well, we better make sure it's translated exactly the way they meant it to be translated, because it may come here and it may mean something completely different. So this is really what conflict of laws is about.
But isn't it just common sense, like you said earlier about the whole auto accident? If you stay in New York and something happens in New Jersey and it happens there, you have to go to court in New Jersey. But isn't that like common sense, though?
Well, not really, because you think about it. Look, New Jersey allows our drivers, to go over their bridge and to go into their state and to shop at their malls and to come back here. Well, somebody might say, well, if I get into an accident and I'm right over the bridge in New Jersey, but I spend all my time in New York, why can't I bring my action in New York? Or how about this one, Sean? Let's say you go over into New Jersey and you get involved in another accident with a New York driver. So you got two New York drivers, you and the person you're involved in the accident with, but you're in New Jersey. What applies? New Jersey or New York? You could say, hey, wait a second. Okay, so yes, I was in New Jersey when this happened, but I was involved with another New York resident. I want New York law to apply. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Even though the person you got involved in the accident with might say, well, New Jersey law is better for me. I'd like to use New Jersey law. So conflict of laws is always coming up. It comes up between states. It comes up between countries. Remember, we have a whole set of laws that it really ends up being embodied by international law. Let me give you an example. Admiralty law. Laws involving the open seas. we're always looking at other countries because there's no exact line as to what delineates the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. I mean, you're crossing over into international borders.
Okay.
So that's a whole set of law that's foreign that the federal courts will look at, and they will apply admiralty law, which many times is international law. So I find conflict of law is a very interesting and exciting field because you never really know what law is going to apply in a particular situation, and there are so many times that you want to take an international law and apply it and use it when others say, hey, that's not our law of the land. I'm not going to look at international law. What they do there is their own business, different upbringing, as you said.
Yeah.
Why should we be looking at ourselves?
I think a lot of times that comes into effect, like let's say if it's something like a murder and somebody's they're an American and they go to like France, you say, and they do something. I think like that's that's a time where it really, comes to the forefront.
Well, don't you remember that woman who, she was the college student and she was and she was in Italy,
exactly.
Remember? And she was convicted. They convicted her.
Mm-hmm.
They put her in jail in Italy, and then eventually the appellate courts reversed, and she was able to go back to her home state. We have different values here.
Yeah.
So we have different ways of evidence and putting things into evidence and Miranda rights and all these things are different than they are international.
You just have different ways of disciplining people too. I think to me it just makes sense when you go somewhere, just act right. Well,
that's true. But eventually what happens is, we've enacted a law called the Alien Tort Law. It's called. What that means is if you're involved in an accident in another country, we expect that country to follow much of our law in terms of protecting people when they get injured. Because if you're going to travel overseas and you're going to get hurt in a subway system or something like that, or on a job or something, well, we want to make sure that they protect you when you're overseas. So we ask those countries to abide by the Alien Tort Law. So we do enact laws to try and protect people when they're in other countries. Whether the other countries follow or not, many times is up to the country. But we have treaties with other countries. We expect them to follow our laws sometimes, and because we follow their laws. If one of their citizens come here, and one of their citizens break the law of their own country while they're here, we'll still prosecute them.
Okay, but have you guys ever had any problems with people following the laws in other countries?
A lot of times people, they go to other countries and they do different things where they, with drug use and they expect the same laws in the United States to follow.
Because they're an American and
but
they
it doesn't
go
work
over
that
there.
way.
Okay.
It doesn't work that way.
Okay. So more or less if it's like an accident or something like that in your favor versus you actually going out and committing a crime or something.
Well, you know what? We expect the countries to follow much of our civil liability law while they're over there.
Okay.
Criminal laws, we can't expect them to follow our rules and our laws. If you go into Central America, and you get convicted of smuggling drugs, you're in big trouble.
I think a lot of us have seen those instances on Locked Up Abroad. You want to be in?
No, you don't. So I guess the best advice I can give to you is if you're going to leave the United States and you're going to hope that the international laws protect you, you better make sure you know what they are.
Okay.
And as you said earlier, you just got to behave yourself.
Yeah. That's the best thing to do. Dave, thank you.
It's my pleasure. You did terrific. I'll see you next couple of weeks.
For more information, you can check out leslaw.com. Make sure you catch the newest episode of Today's Verdict right here on Bronx State Channel 67 on Tuesday nights. We'll take a quick break, but next we'll have Sheikh Musa Drama.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
G-Morning, sunshine. Text me back. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? Lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
These things we count on every day started as ideas. Ideas from the minds of African Americans. Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro Colony is a terror.
Megan, you're a tramp. Brian Fitch told me you guys made out. Everybody knows. He says you're the most desperate girl he knows, besides your mom. How many boyfriends does she have anyway? Lots? That zit is huge. Zit face. Ugly.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
And we're back on Open. There's more of the show to come, but remember to join the conversation by calling our studios at 718-960-7241. Or you can send us an email at open@bronxnet.org. Or you can follow us on Twitter at bronxnet.tv. You can leave a comment on our timeline on facebook.com/open-bronxnet.tv. It's hard to ignore the headlines, especially when the last few weeks has been very violent, and the reaction towards the video innocence of Muslims has came to light. What's striking is the pleas of those who do not agree with the movie's portrayal of Muslims, both across the ocean and right here at home. Right in our studios today, we have Sheikh Musa Drama. Sheikh, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed to be here one more time.
All right, cool. So this video is causing a lot of, a lot of problems in the Muslim community. Could you tell me, about that?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this is nothing new.
Okay.
And I wrote an article, a piece, a couple of days ago. The article talks about the insult to Muslims and to the Prophet. It's not the movie, but the reaction to the movie.
Okay.
You see, the Muslim world unfortunately has lost it. Islam was founded based on the principles of peace. Islam came, and the very first commandment for Muslims is to seek knowledge. Quran came, the very first word that, according to our belief, Jibril or Gabriel said to Muhammad was to read.
Inform.
Yes, to understand. And Prophet Muhammad in return said, seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim man and Muslim woman. But unfortunately, knowledge is what the Muslim community, unfortunately, is lacking.
Okay.
That is why we're reacting to
Question. So do you think it's more or less of the older Muslim community or the younger Muslim community? What do you think that's coming from?
Percent in populations, everywhere you go, is under the age of 30.
Okay.
Muslims are the youngest in terms of population, and today almost 30% of the world youth population consists of Muslims. The older generation was not as highly sophisticated as the younger generation. Therefore, there's a remnant of biases and ignorance transmitted from the older generation to the younger one. And there's a detachment from the cultural differences.
You know what? A lot of times you get that with a lot of religions. The younger generations, they only know from what they see. So from what they see, they react, and then and in turn, it makes everybody looks bad as a whole. So that's definitely a major problem or whatever. So what do you think that we can do to inform the younger generations to actually become more informed and just to think?
What we must do is we must provide education. You see, after 9/11. Even the legislators from England came to the United States because they were having problems with what they call the homegrown, radicalization.
Okay.
And the U.S. was thought to be a safe place for it. Then later they found out that U.S. was not as safe as most people thought, because even here in the Bronx, you have a lot of Muslims. I would say the overwhelming majority of Muslims speak languages other than English, meaning that there's a cultural, social, spiritual connection to wherever their parents come from. What we must do is we must provide proper education to everybody. We should not just leave them as an isolated community or people, or they're already here in America, they will be become Americanized. That is not the case. We have to provide education, and from all levels. And we have to provide also education to the older folks, the immigrants who may not even speak English. There are cultural centers, or there are senior centers that are popping up in Brooklyn just for that, educating the older Muslim folks so that they will become less hostile to the American way of life.
Just bridge the gap as well. So I understand you're heavy in your in the community as well. So what are you doing to actually help the cause out as well?
Well, as you know, and as almost everybody who knows me knows, I am probably one of the most vocal person in these issues.
Okay.
After 9/11, as a matter of fact, we opened the first and only full-time Islamic school in the county of the Bronx, and the school opened on Tuesday, September 11, 2001.
Okay.
It was the most amazing opening.
Okay.
Because of that day, our school embarked on promoting peace. Today, you can walk into our school any time of the day. You can talk to any child, and they will never, ever tell you anything that associates with violence, whether reacting to these cartoons and movies than anything else. They know better. And I hope that Muslims and non-Muslims can copy from our example, because we have kids who are from the Bronx or from New York City who differentiate what the world is doing or reacting to this from the reality.
And they bring it to their own local communities.
Absolutely.
So I definitely believe in each one teach one, and I understand you're a father as well. So what do you tell your kids, when they hear about videos like what's the innocence of Muslims? What do you tell your kids, about that?
Well, my children, my son is only about 13 years old.
Okay.
My son memorized pretty much almost all Obama speeches.
Oh, okay.
That's how Americanized he has become,
Okay.
and he's been invited all over the place. He can tell you what is happening now in Cairo, in Libya, in the Muslim world.
Nice,
because they have grown to know the reality from all the other nonsense going on. And
Okay.
today you can bring any one of my children, and they'll be able to differentiate what is real from what is falsehood.
Okay.
And unfortunately, killing a person is worse than anything else you can do, because life needs to be promoted. And Islam said, if you take one life, it is as you take the entire human life.
Okay.
And if you preserve a life, it is as you preserve mankind.
Okay.
So where are the Muslims getting the idea of we are upset now, we're going to kill a person? Number two, an ambassador. For example, recent phenomenon. If you remember, in the late 90s and early 2000s, when the American government demanded bin Laden to be given to the Americans, what did Mullah Omar them said? What did Basir from Sudan said? We do not dishonor our guests. We cannot give you bin Laden. Now, how could bin Laden is so important to them because of the guests, the importance Islam attached to guests, and now you kill an ambassador? It doesn't make sense. So there's a hypocrisy, there's a ignorance. That's why we have to be vocal. We have to have access to the media, because the media also, unfortunately, do not always associate with moderate Muslims. They would rather...
They don't always give you the entire truth.
You know, the bad side, but there are a lot of moderate Muslims, very vocal, very active, but you don't hear them, you don't see them because
Yeah.
they have no chance.
Yeah.
But this is all about ignorance. Islam will never ever sanction taking of a life because of a cartoon or movie or anything else.
There's a lot of ignorance out there with a lot of people. Like I said, they don't really understand. You know, it's a huge generational gap from the old to new and whatever.
Okay.
So take a few steps back. You said, you know, your kids are very worldly. How important is it for your kids to know Obama speeches and know what's going on in Cairo and just everywhere? How important is that to you?
Because I am unlike many Muslim parents. Our religion said your country, love of your country is part of your religion. Meaning that my children are not from anywhere else. They are New Yorkers.
Okay.
They must love New York. But loving New York doesn't mean you embrace everything. The love of your nation means you work on improving the quality of life. What is good, you promote it. What is bad, you work to remove it. And that is exactly the message that my kids have been getting, and all the students who come to my school have been getting that. In the beginning, there was a resistance. Because some people thought that I was anti-Islam.
How do you break down that wall, though?
Well, because you got to be committed, you got to be persistent, because truth will always prevail.
Okay.
You know, in the beginning, falsehood may have all these, you know, followers, but truth and falsehood can never compete in the long term. And today, as a matter of fact, our Santa, as you can, you've read a couple of months ago, we went as far as hosting a synagogue in the masjid. Meaning that you have a masjid and a synagogue. We did that because we wanted to show the whole world that Muslims and Jews and Christians, if we're true to our beliefs, we cannot be killing each other.
Exactly.
Because if one falls, the other one will fall. 80% of what Muslims believe can be found in the Bible.
Okay.
So now, if a Muslim goes there saying the Christians are wrong or the Jewish people are wrong, well, they're automatically saying to themselves, we're also wrong. Because 80 to 90% of what we believe can be found in the Bible.
So what do you say to about those people that you know, act out and commit acts of violence and say that, you know, so-and-so told me to do it? How do you feel about that?
Well, because they have internal problems. You see, this movie is not the catalyst for their rioting. They have no development. They have no freedom. They have nothing to look forward to. If you look at the Muslim world today, unfortunately, you will feel so bad. Let's take America, for example, one of the newest nations in the world. But yet, when you look at development, when you look at expenditure in research and development, today, if you go to the trademarks and patterning, America, Japan, China, and South Korea hold probably almost 90% of the 6 million, patents that are now being in use.
Okay.
You look at the Muslim world, there's none. If you look at the largest corporations, the 2,000 largest corporations, they are in the hands of those who are spending money in research and development. If you look at the Muslim money, it is not going to schools where they need to educate their younger generations. So the average age in the Muslim world is about 24 years old. They have a whole lot of potential, but nothing to do. No jobs, no good schools.
Is that as a whole, or is that in certain places?
It's a whole. On average, every Muslim nation, on average, the median age is about 24 to 30.
Wow.
So you have a vast majority of your population who are under 30, no good education, nothing to look forward to. Now, anything that can stir them, all these things that they are manifesting, it's not about the movie or cartoon. It's something that they're seeing on TV or, seeing the West manifesting, and they cannot get it. And unfortunately, the leadership in the Muslim world has always scapegoated these things. Number one, they're sleeping with the West. All the leadership in the Muslim world will get their medical needs done, their educational needs done, their investments are in the West, but yet they go to their public and demonize the West. This is, hypocrisy that is going on. The only thing that can be a solution to this, if the Muslim leadership wake up and start building schools and universities and spending money in research and development so that they can be competitive.
Because I was definitely going to ask you, said age 24, and that's around that age that you're just getting out of college. So do you feel like, after high school, a lot of people in the Muslim community are going to college, or they're just saying no altogether?
A lot of the Muslims believe that the knowledge is about memorizing Quran and speaking the Arabic language and understanding Islamic studies. The majority of Muslim world confine knowledge into these three areas. Yet science and math and all these things are not part of the equation. So
there's specialized schools that are, you know, after, you know, K through 12 for this?
Well, if you go to the Muslim world, sometimes when you finish, you know, your primary education, which is to memorize Quran and be able to do a little bit of Arabic work, then they will send you to other part of the Muslim world, which indoctrinate into the religion. But it is really not, you know, areas where you can become, you know, among the top scientists. And if that was the case, today we will have among the top Muslim scholars who are among those who receive, you know, Nobel laureate for development, nothing. Out of 1.5 billion Muslims, you can hardly find, you know, people who have, unfortunately, you know, received any type of accolade comparable to the small Jewish community or the Catholic community.
So enlightenment is definitely the way. Thank you.
Well, that was the reason Islam came.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. More from Sheikh Musa Jama can be found at Muslim Community. Excuse me?
Muslim Community Report.
Oh, Muslim Community Report. We'll be right back with Legal Shield here on Open. But first, let's look at last week's memorial down by the Bronx County Courthouse. Derek Woods was there.
Solemn day of remembrance outside Bronx County Courthouse at Lou Garrett Plaza on 161st Street. 143 residents that were killed as a direct result of the attacks at the World Trade Center 11 years ago were remembered. For Elia Rodriguez, who flew in from Miami, Florida, the journey back to New York and to the Bronx, where she raised her son Carlos Ray Lilo, a paramedic with the New York City Fire Department who was stationed at Mount Sinai Hospital when he responded to the attacks, it's about preserving his legacy.
I feel like I have to come, I have to be here. Doesn't matter where I am, if I can take a plane, I will be here every year for the rest of my life, honoring my son.
She was joined by other family members seated together as Master of Ceremonies Derek Woods greeted them, along with members of the New York City Police and Fire Departments, several New York State Court officers, elected officials, and community residents.
As we honor and remember Bronxites lost on 9/11, today we also celebrate their memory. And we also honor the family and friends of those who perished on that terrible day. Your loss reminds us of the often terrible price of freedom. And once again, we say, we will never forget.
Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., who hosted the event, recalled his own personal loss. Darrell Pop McKinney, who grew up with him in the Soundview section of the Bronx, went on to a career in finance and was working at Cantor Fitzgerald, located in Tower 1.
Darrell went that day to work like the almost 3,000 individuals, not knowing what was going to happen. Darrell went there to carry out his responsibilities as a member of the financial district. Darrell went there proud of the work and the sacrifice that he's done to make sure that he was what we call made it. Darrell lives inside of me. The lessons that I learned from Darrell on Rosedale basketball court still live inside of this young man who is serving as the borough president today. We in the Bronx say, as Americans, we will not allow for their memories to be lost. We will continue to move forward. Today, as the borough president, I'm proud to be an American, but I'm even prouder of all of you who are here, making sure that their memory goes on. I'm proud to be the borough president of so many Bronxites who are paying homage.
With word that other cities are looking to scale back their 9/11 ceremonies, Borough President Diaz promised to continue remembering those who lost their lives here in the Bronx. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone. But you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community, get the resources you need, and connect to other vets who know where you're coming from. IAVA.org. We've got your back.
Welcome back to Open. Now, have you ever needed legal assistance that was at a low price? Or have you ever tried to juggle too many things at the same time? Well, the people from Legal Shield are here to help. Anthony Martin is here on the set to give us more information. Anthony, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Sean. Great
so Legal Shield, tell us about it.
Well, just to give you a little bit about the history of the company real quick. A lot of people have never heard of it, so that's only because we haven't really advertised as far as the media. Okay. But we've actually been around 40 years now. Okay. Corporate headquarters is in Ada, Oklahoma. We have a 170,000 square foot office on 80 acres of land. We have 700 full-time employees to provide the services, customer services, make sure everything's running smooth. And what we do is we have a proprietary network of attorneys across the United States, including 4 provinces of Canada. And what we want to do is we want to bring equal justice to the middle class or the working class people who've been priced out all these years.
Yeah, because I know a lot of times people, you know, they don't fight cases or they leave stuff lingering for years because they just don't have the money and they're just scared, you know?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, now here in the state of New York, I'm just going to lowball it right now, but an attorney could charge you maybe $200 to $400 an hour. The average person probably doesn't make $200 a day, so imagine how many hours you have to work just to speak to an attorney for 1 hour.
Okay. So you guys help out with all type of cases?
All types of things. What we do basically, I'll just give you a little synopsis of what we do. Most of them say like 80% of the issues probably could be resolved if you had the right consultation. A lot of times what we like to do is we like to ask mom, pops, our cousin, our aunts for advice. They might want to help us, but they're probably not giving us the right or legal advice.
They're just giving us advice from what they know, their homeboy, somebody told them or whatever, you know?
Someone told them who told them. Okay, so what we'll do for you is we'll actually give you a legal advice, unlimited. A lot of people say, well, what's unlimited? Unlimited means just that. It's unlimited legal advice. You can call 3 times a day, 3 times a week, 3 times a month. You can stay on the phone for 3 hours. You'll never be charged anything in addition to it.
So how do you find these lawyers that you guys have, you know, stationed around around the country? They when they came out of law school, they said, hey, I want to help out the common people.
Well, not quite. Actually, it probably started like that 40 years ago. You know, we always make a joke about it. In order for us to get started, we probably had to find a guy who probably got the C's on his, you know, exams, probably failed out of law school, you know, sitting on the park bench. And we had to build up to where we are now. But actually what we have now is we have AV-rated attorneys, which is basically the top of the top when it comes to attorneys. And they're judged basically on their peers, other law firms, judges, and that's how they get the ratings. So you have to be qualified to be part of our network. So there is a scrutiny that goes on when we select the attorneys that we use.
Okay.
So we save people a lot of time. If you ever looked at a phone book, probably half the phone book has lawyers in there. So how do you choose which lawyer is right for you?
Exactly.
We take all that guesswork out of there for you.
All right. So let's say you have someone, like we just said before, it has a case that's been lingering for years. When they come to you, what's the first thing that you tell them?
Well, what I like to do personally is I like to sit down with them and go over the plan, because I want them to know what we can do for them and what we can't do for them.
Okay.
Now, our attorneys can help them with any part of the law or any legal issues they have, whether they're present or even in the past. But remember, this is a membership, so there is limitations to what we can do. Same way as if you have medical coverage.
Okay.
Okay, if you can look at that, there's certain things that will cover it. Sometimes you have to pay a co-payment. But if you need some major work, you may have to pay a little more money.
Definitely at a fraction of a cost. I know that's a plus right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what, going back 40 years, what made them want to, just gear towards a normal person? Because, people, they're looking for the easy come up. Let's be honest.
That's a great question. Actually, the founder of the company, Harlan C. Stone Cipher, what happened was he was actually in a car accident back in Oklahoma. And he was driving down the road. A lady crosses over the double yellow line, hits him. He winds up going to the hospital. He has major damage on his car. The lady has citations on her, given citations at the scene. She's found to be the one at fault.
Okay.
Well, while Mr. Stone Cipher is laying up in the hospital, he actually gets notice that he's being sued by the person who caused the accident. Now, at that time, there was nothing like this in place. So he had everything to cover. He had his automobile insurance in case something happened to the car. He was able to take care of that. He had his medical insurance. He was able to take care of that. What he didn't have was something to take care of his legal fees. Now, at this time, we're talking about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in legal fees, and we're talking about 40 years ago, which is a lot of money.
I mean, well, from then to now, I'm pretty sure inflation, but that's still a lot for back then.
Exactly. That's a lot of money. So what he did is he did his research, and what he found was that over in Europe, 80% of the people over there actually had something like this in place.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. Most of the countries over there won't even allow you to drive unless you have some sort of legal coverage. So he did his research. He found out, he said, well, if they have this over there, and everything that happens in Europe eventually trickles down over here in the U.S. So he found a way, like I said, to start building this company, start getting these lawyers together. And his idea was, look, let's get a lot of people to pay a little bit of money each month. Okay, so when they do need the attorney that costs $200 to $400 an hour, they don't have to pay the $200 to $400 an hour themselves, because the attorney is already paid by Legal Shield.
Okay.
Okay, so it's basically cumulative economics.
Okay.
And that's how we handle that.
So, and going forward, you said you guys haven't done a lot of advertising for that. Why is that?
The company started off as an employee benefit.
Okay.
So we were providing the services for different companies as an employee benefit. So we had our own sales force just going out to these companies, giving a 10, 15-minute presentation on the services, what we can do for the employees. And then we kind of expanded a little bit. So now we not only do the employee benefits, we do individual families. We have plans for business owners who want to protect their businesses. We have plans for commercial drivers who want to protect their commercial driver's license, because that's their livelihood. But because we just got purchased by Mid-Ocean Partners, which is actually a New York City firm, for $650 million last year.
Okay.
They're actually starting a mass campaign for us, and we're going to be doing a lot of advertising now as far as television and media.
Okay.
We're in certain markets. Matter of fact, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, somewhere that you went to
my
school at, right?
Johnson
Exactly. So if you ask anybody, they might see one of our billboards up on the side of the highway, or they might even actually see one of our commercials.
Okay, as long as we don't have a lot of those little cheesy commercials.
No, these are
somebody
top of the
singing
line.
and dancing and all the other stuff.
We have little cartoon clips like that just to give you a little synopsis of some of the member stories, but the actual commercials that you will see are top of the notch commercials.
Okay, so personally, how what have people told you about? You're a lawyer as well, right?
No, I'm not an attorney.
You're not an attorney.
I work with the company.
So anything. Trying to think.
Yeah, well, I could share a story with you.
Stories that people may have.
Exactly. I can share one of my personal stories with you. I actually live in a co-op.
Okay.
And a co-op, you think you own the apartment, but you don't really own the apartment. But anyway, there's a lot of bylaws that go on in a co-op. So one time I'm removing some furniture from my apartment, and I happen to drag a couch which smudges the floor.
Okay.
Okay. So a few days later, I get a letter from the management slipped under my door that says, you damaged the floor from your door to the elevator downstairs in the basement, and you have to pay X amount of dollars. I think it was there was 3 areas they were trying to charge me, I believe, $75 each area for a little smudge mark.
I was thinking you were going to say something crazy, but
no, nothing crazy, nothing crazy. I think it was I'm sorry, it was $50 for each smudge mark. Okay, it came out to $150. Now, I know they were in their rights to submit that bill to me, but I just didn't feel like it was fair because I was just moving some furniture out the apartment. There were all types of smudge marks on the floor.
So they don't know what was there before you got there or whatever.
And we pay maintenance, which they come up and they buff the floors out. I figure it'd be buffed out the next time they come and do what they were supposed to do. So, but being that I have the services myself, I said, well, look, I'm not going to pay anything addition to call my attorney because we also provide a toll-free number. So it doesn't even cost you the cost of the call. So I called my attorney. I explained the situation to him. He says, look, I'm not sure what exactly we can do, but let's fire off a letter to them and see what happens. They send a letter out. A few days later, I get another notice from my management office saying, you know what, we're going to reduce it by 50%. Now, I just saved myself $75, but the point is the average person who doesn't have access to an attorney
they try to fight these things.
is not going to fight a $150 bill when you have to pay $200 to $400 an hour. So that's where we come in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I guess they just figured to take their loss. I'm in the wrong.
I've done it many times before I had the service. I had to take a loss.
Yeah, and it's like that. So do you guys have about with speeding tickets and stuff like that as well?
I'm glad you asked that question, Sean.
Because you said you try to fight certain things, so you know how that works. Like let's say, and I spoke to David about this earlier. Something might happen in this state, and you go to another state. So
that's a great scenario. Actually, what we do is we do provide services for those who like to drive a little faster than the speed limit. Not that we try to help bad people do worse things, but sometimes good people get caught up, right? So what we do is we have a area in the membership that will help you with traffic tickets. And like I said, we do this across the United States. So let's say you're driving from New York down to Charlotte. And somewhere in between you get stopped, let's say in Maryland for speeding. Instead of you having to leave work, go to court down in Maryland to fight the ticket, miss a day's work, fight the ticket, probably pay the fines and the court fees and attorney fees. What we'll do is we'll send an attorney on your behalf for a $25 co-payment. Okay, so you don't even have to show up. You stay at work. Now, they're not going to fix the ticket, but what they can do and what most likely will happen is they'll have the points reduced, which will save money on your insurance.
And it also saves you from taking off of work.
Exactly. So you save
always a plus.
You save probably a couple $100 right there just for your regular monthly membership plus a $25 copay.
Exactly. That's always a plus. Thank you. I think you definitely gave us a lot of useful information. A lot of people really didn't know about your services, and you said going forward we're going to definitely hear a lot about it. So
absolutely. I appreciate the time. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thank you a lot. More on Legal Shield with Anthony can be found on www.legalshield.com. AnthonyJMartin.legalshield.com. That's all we have for today, people, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, you can find us on social media, and you can share your thoughts about today's episode. And you guys hope we have an amazing week. See you soon.
I called my provider law firm and I told them what was happening to me.
These things we count on every day started as ideas. Ideas from the minds of African Americans. Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Hey, how's it going?
Sir, are you okay?
What? Oh, this? It's probably nothing. I'm sure it'll go away.
Go away? But sir, that can't be good.
No, it's cool. Really.
Do you want a napkin or something?
Everything's fine. Thanks.
You wouldn't ignore this. So why ignore the signs of a stroke? At the first warning signs, call 911 immediately. Because time lost is brain lost.
My name's Brandon. 9 years old, being alcoholic.
Hi, Brandon.
I'll start drinking with the older kids. And whatever they do, I'll do.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
I know I'll start with alcohol. I'm just not sure how it's gonna end.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live United for Education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
How you doing? I just want regular, no sugar today.
You got it.
Thanks. Hello.
Hi.
Did you eat that whole thing today?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Hi, how you doing?
She's getting big, huh?
Good. Yeah, she is big. Let's get your haircut. Yeah, looks cute. Come on, let's go. Nice to see you. Thanks a lot.
If only child abuse were this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call 1-800-4-A-CHILD. All calls are anonymous and confidential. Trust your instincts.
Megan, you're a tramp. Brian Fitch told me you guys made out. Everybody knows. He says you're the most desperate girl he knows, besides your mom. How many boyfriends does she have anyway? Lots? That zit is huge. Zit face.